Donal Fallon, how's it going?
How are you doing? Good to be with you.
Thanks very much. Thanks for coming into Dole TV. So, come here to me. The blog. That wasn't a chat up line or anything like that.
Come here to me. Did I tell you about Come Here to Me?
So, the online digital blog about the forgotten history, characters, great stories of Dublin. You know, what inspired you?
Where to come from?
Yeah.
It's 3 years old, pretty much exactly 3 years old, and it wasn't even my idea. Of the three of us, myself, Sam and Kieran, it was I think Sam's idea 3 years back that we should start this blog celebrating all that's good about Dublin. At the time, things were pretty grim, as people remember. Of course, they're much better now, everything's back to normal. But 3 years ago, we had friends flying off left, right and centre, things were closing down. There was just a bad vibe about the place, and Dublin looked a bit bad. And we decided that we'd unearth the little gems that were there. And it wasn't a history
blog. Is it because you wanted to stay?
Well, we just wanted to celebrate the place and paint it in a better light. Originally, it looked like an alcoholics blog because the first thing we launched was a pub crawl. We decided that we were going to do a monthly pub crawl of 5 pubs. Normally, it took about 10 pubs, or 8 pubs at least. And that was really what we began doing. It was only well into the project that we started getting into the history, and people started responding to that, because that sort of ordinary history, that kind of working class history, it's not really spoken of in Dublin. And people began, the readership, once we turned towards that kind of history angle, shut up. And today we're very, very fortunate in terms of what people send us and what people engage with us on.
So you're up to, is it thousands of people engage with you?
Well, yeah, we get 3,000 on Facebook. And that's a great medium of communicating with people.
Yeah.
But of course, Facebook, being a bit greedy now, you have to pay money if you want to engage with each and every one of those people.
Okay.
Which we kind of refuse to do. But at this time, I think people check our page rather than getting the updates, if you know what I mean. So we engage pretty well through Facebook. And on our wall, people post amazing stuff.
Yeah.
You know, here's my granddad in X nightclub in 1968,
yeah.
1969. It's real gems.
I like the stuff you've done, the new kind of subculture stuff like ADW's art and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff. It's not all history. It's a balance of the old and the new.
Yeah.
So in terms of the contemporary stuff, we're interested in anyone who's using the city as a canvas, for example. People like ADW, Mazer, Sullis, and other people who are throwing up great stuff on the hoardings of buildings which have been closed for a couple of years.
And it's kind of their reaction to what's happening now and so on. But there's also a lot of kind of stuff that you uncover and show people and go, do you remember this in 1916? Do you remember this in the 30s?
Oh, do you remember this in 2002 or 2003? Yeah. Some of it is incredibly recent stuff that was just never written up and people are fascinated by. One of the most popular articles recently was about when they tried to move Wimbledon Football Club to Dublin, which would have killed League of Ireland soccer in the city. That kind of stuff just resonates with people because they remember being involved in that campaign to stop Wimbledon coming to Dublin. Someone that's interested in an article about Wimbledon coming to Dublin might not necessarily be interested in an article about ADW or Mazer, or an article about the 1913 lockout. People don't read everything, but they come in and they fall out.
But you're kind of uncovering and you're showing me stuff that would have been maybe forgotten by design.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Are there ones like that stand out for you?
And some of it's this idea of Dublin in the Royal Times is total rubbish. This idea of that we were poor but we were happy.
Yeah.
And people were poor and miserable.
Yeah, I watched Trumpet City. They were pretty miserable.
But even that, is worse than that. Even in reality, when you reach, like, if you go back to the 1930s, some of the stuff we've had on like youth gang violence in the 1930s, they talk about gangs today like they fell from the sky.
Yeah.
In the 30s, you had kids, animal gangs and other gangs that were fighting each other left, right, and centre in the city. Yeah. That kind of stuff is forgotten for a reason. Okay. It's been omitted from history. The slums.
For what purpose?
Well, I mean, Dublin post-independence was probably as bad a place to live, if not a worse place to live, than Dublin in the years it was under British rule.
Yeah.
If you look at the housing crisis in Dublin in the late 20s and 30s, independence didn't change any of that.
Yeah.
Monto, the red light district, was still there for 3 years after independence. The lights didn't come on overnight with independence. It's an awkward truth for people that Dublin in the 1930s was a pretty miserable place to live.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff is definitely omitted. That kind of working class history is definitely omitted.
But are there, from your perspective, when you start to see, that happened then and it's happening now, and are there constant threads that are running through the history?
And that's why people, I think, are interested in a lot of the stories. because they resonate, because they remind you of things today in society. Or as I was saying, in the case of those gangs, this kind of Sunday world stuff today, that the way we talk about criminals today, like it's a new phenomenon. It's not a new phenomenon at all, and people are interested in that. They're kind of tracing things back, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And they see immediate sensationalism in the
there's money in making it sexy and all that type of stuff. But one of the things that I do get some inspiration from are the subcultures, like the graffiti and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? The stuff out there that I don't see on your site that you are privy to now, you know? Yeah,
well, even going back, I mean, Sam in particular has been keen on looking at stuff like the Teddy Boys and all these old movements, going back to punks, the skinheads, back in the day. And it's not only us, there's a whole movement of people that are now interested in this sort of working class history and putting it out there in the public domain. Look at the book Where Were You? Gary O'Neill's brilliant book, a photo collection of subcultures in Dublin historically. That's done incredibly well, and it's done incredibly well for a reason.
I've talked to some guys who would be a bit high profile about that, and they were just chuffed, delighted that they were part of something that was nice and simple. And now, if you look back 30 years later, it looks, wow, that was a great time.
But ordinary people, I hate that term, ordinary people. You know, working class people don't feel that their history is important. And then when they see someone taking it and trying to tell a story with the little pieces, they feel important from that, you know. So people send us incredible stuff, and we do what we can with it. And that book, Where Were You, for example, was Gary's effort to do that. There's other people, there's other great blogs.
And you're doing your own book now. You've come away a little bit from the laptop and you've put pen to paper.
Come out of our bedrooms for a while, and we decided that we'd go into print.
Okay.
Because being historians and lefties as well, we've got an obsession with print and books, and we always wanted to do a book. And we're aiming now for a lovely hardback book, which will be out in early December. And we kept it local. My brother, Luke, who's an illustrator, he done the cover, and it's really a selection of our favourite articles.
He also done the set.
He also done the old
TV
set. It's a selection of 70, just under 70 articles from the site. So that's wrong. It's a collection of around 70 articles, most of which are from the site, but some of which are brand new, and some of the ones that were on the site have been expanded. And one thing we've done is we've included some of the comments people left on the site in the book. So that it makes a lot of sense when you see it.
It'll be an app soon.
It'll be an app soon.
So is it about a specific area or genre or time, or?
It covers everything. It covers, Red Scares in Dublin in the 1930s, skinheads in Dublin in the 1970s. There's stuff in the 18th century. Some of the funny street names in Dublin. There's everything and anything. The far right in the 1950s. More recent stuff. League of Ireland history. It's a pretty broad church.
Great Christmas present to be that way inclined.
Great Christmas present, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Get two.
So, I want to finish on this maybe. We're 100 years on from a big event in Dublin's history. I'm not talking about 1916, I'm talking about the lockout 1913, where we had an exploited working class and an exploiting middle class or upper class or ruling class or whatever we want to call them. And I'm just fascinated about how people now, because it's very similar, we still have exploited people, but how they reacted back then, with standing beside your fellow man and saying we're not taking this, and and there's a big contrast between that and what's happening now.
Yeah, well, the centenary of the lockout is something that there are people now that are already moving on that and making sure it's marked properly. If you look at the centenary of the Rising, which is coming up, that's a totally top-down affair. Like even for the 90th anniversary, we saw in 2006, there were tanks rolling down O'Connell Street as if that was some kind of people's commemoration. If we're not careful in 1913, the same thing could happen. The lockout commemoration could be fenced off from ordinary people. So we need to begin organising a centenary from the bottom up. And there's people doing that. There's people like the North Inner City Folklore Project that have been doing that work for years and years. But the wheels are in motion there, and we have to make sure that 2013, we have a 2013, as well as the state having its own 2013.
But I think beyond the celebration, it's just the differences in how we reacted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it shouldn't. The things that we celebrate about the lockout are really the incredible spirit, the community spirit that was shown at the time, the solidarity and the strength of the solidarity. But there's also some of the battles in 1913 were never won. They weren't won then, and they're not won now. The right to organise in some workplaces still isn't there. battles of 1916 continue in many ways. And politicising 2013 is something that we have to do next year. A really good point that Michael D. Higgins, of all people, made in Liberty Hall. He was saying that we talk about the lockout as something awful that happened in an occupied country.
Yeah.
But William Martin Murphy, the leading employer in Dublin at the time, was an Irish nationalist himself. It had nothing to do with Irish nationalism and the British presence in Ireland. It was class politics.
That was it.
It was a class dispute. And we still have those class relations today.
Definitely.
So it still resonates, it's still important, and we need to mark it properly next year. And we'll do our part in doing that.
Camille, we asked you in here for a reason, and it's mainly because you are one of those guys who just uncovers all those interesting things about the things that were absolutely amazing about Dublin, that are amazing about Dublin now, and the strengths and community and people and all that type of stuff. It's a pleasure to have you in. I wish you all the best with your book, and get on to the website, comeheretome.com.
.com. We finally chipped in a tenner each.
Commercialisation. Thank you very much, pal.
Thank you, Dave.
Nice one. Cheers.